Thank you, Maria. That's right. We have winning in for the top 8 between two friends, competitors, teammates, etc. We've got Gabriel Nassif versus Reid Duke, and in the clean mirror match, no less. So this is kind of what it's all about, especially at this stage of the tournament where there are actually top 8 seats up for grabs here, Paul.
Yeah, and it's going to be quite the battle here. I know they've tested against a lot of different decks. Perhaps not as many matches in the mirror, right? Because kind of coming into this, I don't think this was a deck that many people considered. Decks like mono green, mono white, those are the decks that you want it to beat, not necessarily the Izzet Creativity mirror. So curious to see how these players kind of navigate this matchup, especially game one. I just don't see how there's pretty much anything you can do other than just trying to go off for the combo. And yeah, I mean, both players, if they win, they're in. But if they're not, still one round to go, right? And in this field, there's only 219 people in this event. Really good shot, even with an 11 win record and perhaps a draw, they can still get there.
All right, well, let's get underway here between our two Hall of Famers. Gabriel Nassif had the won the die roll, but also was on a mulligan to 6 here, Paul.
Yeah, but I imagine that this game, we might see kind of a grindy one here. It's going to be basically just both players trying to put themselves in a position to get some tokens onto the battlefield and go for the combo. But remember, it could be one of those instances where the first person who flinches is the one who loses, because there is counter magic in the deck, right? So if you go tap out, go for the creativity, and I go make disappear, then I can untap and go for the creativity and kill you myself.
That's right, and you see a little bit of that in hand here for Reid Duke. He has Spell Pierce in his hand. And by the way, he is going to fight back with an impulse of his own. Wow, what a position to be in for these two players as well. You know, right now, coming in here, Gabriel Nassif with 15 top finishes on his career. Reid with, you know, a Hall of Fame level career has 6, lagging behind, you know, one of the GOATs here, Gabriel Nassif, but still, you know, adding that 7th one or that 16th one. The winner of this match is going to get to do that.
Yeah. I mean, a combined 21 top finishes between the two players. That is wild.
Yeah, in many ways, these players represent their eras as well. You know, Gabriel Nassif going back to before Reid Duke's time, but then overlapping with it as well. Reid Duke, he's been around for a while, though. He's not exactly new.
Yeah, there's kind of multiple phases. Nassif kind of with that first wave of established pros, but still sticking around and just racking up those top finishes.
He's really never stopped. Anytime he's dedicated himself to playing, he wins. We saw that in the arena era that we're just sort of leaving behind, and as you can see, he's knocking at the door of another top 8 right now this round.
Yeah, and you can see here both players just kind of playing draw go, not really looking to force anything here. Definitely aware that there's make disappear in the deck. These players could have played this Fable earlier, but now Nassif going, look, I'm going to wait until I have 5 mana so that I will not be vulnerable to that make disappear.
Yeah, there's make disappear and spell pierce, both have a similar effect. And as you can see, here's Fire Prophecy from Duke targeting the token.
Yeah, and we see that World Spine Worm in Reid Duke's hand, probably going to get put right onto the bottom of the deck.
It's a much better place for it than in your hand.
Absolutely.
Fire Prophecy doing good work there.
And could see Reid potentially go for a Fable of his own. Right, if you do have an untapped land here, you can just go land, Fable, pass.
Indeed. If he felt that it was absolutely critical that his Fable resolves. Could even use up a Spell Pierce here if it were to be make disappear on the other side.
Another card that would provide a little bit of pressure would be Shark Typhoon. Now this is a card that's only a singular copy in both sides. And if you want to go for it, might be good to choose to have it be at least 4, because all the targeted removal in this deck deal 3 damage. Right? You have Fiery Impulse, you have Fire Prophecy, all those cards deal 3 damage. So you know, again, this game could go kind of long, right? Nobody's just trying to force anything. You're not going to just cast a big score end of turn, because if your big score gets countered and you don't have the mana to pay for it, you're just 2 for 1ing yourself in those instances.
That's right. Way, way too risky to try. As you can see, Reid pulling ahead a little bit here thanks to the Goblin Shaman, but not much, right? Gabriel Nassif just resolved Chapter 2 on Fable. He ditched 2 cards to help improve his hand, and he's also not missing any land drops here.
Yeah. And Nassif likely to go for the Fire Prophecy here. You do not want the Shaman to create treasures to give Reid kind of that mana advantage.
It's also targets for Indomitable Creativity. Definitely want to kill that Shaman if you can.
Probably wait till the combat step.
Reid is surveying the scene. Reid's play style, by the way, this is Chapter 2. Resolving is he generally tries to map out all of his options, then chooses an option, and then does it.
Right.
You know, kind of all in one. I don't know. I think I fall for the trap of kind of doing things one step at a time,
right,
but then recognizing that might have led me down a path that I didn't really want to go down.
Right. He's already thought through all the options, so it'll take a little bit of time for him to figure out what it is that he needs to do. But then once he makes that decision, he's already thought of all the different angles,
Yeah.
right?
See, that Fire Prophecy does take down the token. Shivan Reef now for Reid. Both players are sitting on 6 lands. They both have the exact same permanents besides those lands, which is just a Fable on 2. This one is about to transform, though, for Nassif. I like that. He put it on 3 first. Clean. All right. Reflection of Kiki Jiki is there. It has Summoning Sickness. Just going to sit for a minute.
Yeah, nothing to copy. Only real play here from Nassif is to just go for a big score at the end of Reid's turn. Reid can also go for 1 here. Remember, the counter that you want to play around is Make Disappear. Now, Nassif can play Make Disappear and sacrifice this Reflection, right? So you can then basically copy the Make Disappear and make it so that you have to pay 4 mana instead of 2. So now that there's a creature in play, you have to consider that as a possibility before you decide to try to go for the combo.
And it's going to be a big sharp
4/4
typhoon here for Reid.
Yep.
But there's a responsive big score. Shivan Reef hits the bin, and this could definitely set up Nassif for down the line.
Absolutely. Doing this while the coast is clear, while Reid Duke is tapped out, right? You don't want to run these cards into counter spells. So that's what this matchup is about. I mean, I know it's a combo mirror, but it also kind of feels like a control mirror, right? Resolve your spells when your opponents are tapped out, when you have those windows.
As you mentioned, big score potential, especially is what I meant to say, is so critical that you don't get it countered, because you do have to discard a card as part of the casting cost of it. And that just makes counter spells that much better. An attack for 4 finally gets the ball rolling here for one player or the other. This is the first damage done.
Yeah, now this is a threat that Nassif has to handle, right?
Yeah.
Sure, he has the creativity. Maybe won't go for it this turn, but now Nassif is down to 16, and we're looking at a 4-turn clock here from Reid.
Look at Reid's hand. You like a big score? Because he's got 3 of them.
Lots of big scores.
An Impulse and a Spell Pierce. Both Gabriel Nassif and Reid Duke have 1 Spell Pierce in their list, just to keep the other player honest.
And is this a main phase big score?
That's a really big score.
Yeah.
So Nassif has double Make Disappear, or I don't know how important Reflection of Kiki Jiki is. Usually it's considered quite a good card.
Not a lot of great cards to copy in this deck, right?
Could consider.
I think for the most part, they're treating Reflection as a, hey, this is just a great card. It's so good, I don't even need things to copy.
Yeah.
Right? It's a 3-mana 2/2, makes treasure tokens, which help turn on your creativity, allows you to loot through your deck, and then it just becomes an extra body afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it makes 2 creatures and some number of treasure tokens if it gets the turn away. I mean, it's perfect.
Right. It helps you find your pieces.
Card has been one of the most impressive cards over the last few years. really for not only its raw power, but its ability to fit into so many different archetypes, right? Like
Yeah.
every deck wants that.
Absolutely. As long as you're not just an aggressive deck, basically anything mid-range, anything combo, I mean, you're starting your deck with 4 copies of Fable the Mirror Breaker if you're playing Mountains.
Still on a turn impulse.
And here's an impulse for Duke. You can see he's got the 2 treasures.
Ooh, and it does look like Reid drew the Xenagos, so has that in hand. If he's looking to combo off, would want to shuffle that card back into your library somehow, some way. But keep in mind, you could hard cast it if you wanted. There
Oh.
are 2 treasures on the battlefield, right? So if you play a Xenagos, all of a sudden you cut down that clock, you just double the power of the Shark token.
Still done.
And Nassif is currently at 16.
Kind of perfect now that you mention it. 8-8 GG.
And I wonder if now Reid is kind of thinking through the possibilities, knowing that Nassif might be in a position where he's kind of forced to go for the combo here, and seeing how he can disrupt that. And if he can't, does he need to be a little more aggressive this turn? Is it just run out Xenagos time? The alternative could be run the big score or cast the big score and try to find a make disappear. You do have creatures to sacrifice to make it so that Nassif would have to tap 4 mana before trying to combo off. So here you can go attack for 4, put Nassif down to 12, end of turn with Reflection, copy the Shark.
Spirits. Okay.
Wait a sec here. It looks like Nassif might just be going for it here. I think he also sees the amount of damage that Reid can do here. Channeling the Sokin Zen to make 2 spirits. We have a copy of a spirit as well, and lots of mana here, so he can pay, right? You can target your treasures, and he can pay for a Spell Pierce.
Yeah, you can see that Reid had played Mutavault there as well. Trying to set up as much damage as possible, and Nassif, he's going to respect it here. Can he just go for it?
5 cards. Yep.
I think you kind of have to, right? Can't Reid just kill him next turn?
Yeah, make a copy and then make
copy
a
the Shark
copy.
end of turn, untap, copy the Shark again, and attack for 12?
Trying to the flush.
Yeah, the spirits don't have flying from Soken's End, so at least currently
And
wouldn't
no
have any way
removal
to
spell,
block,
you just have a Fire Prophecy and the Make Disappears.
which, by the way, goes back to what you brought up earlier.
Right.
You really want the 4/4 Shark, not the 3/3 or
Exactly.
lower. And there's why.
And can Reid break it up? With what he has in hand, he can't. Right?
Yeah, not yet.
So this isn't, that would be an
big
attack
score
for
helps.
30. Can Reid put enough blockers in the way? You copy a Shark.
Oh, interesting.
If you copy a Shark and activate Mutavault, that's only 6 toughness against 30 power.
Yeah, so still dead. But I'm looking at that big score in Reid Duke's hand. That could open up the floodgates if it can resolve. Okay, well, he's going to go for Fire Prophecy on the Reflection.
Right, this makes it so that Reid can't
Can only
go
make
for
2.
the Shark copy line and kill him, and perhaps buy Nassif 1 more turn.
Okay.
All right, Reflection down.
Okay, so that's going to at least buy 1 turn for Nassif.
Maybe it wasn't so perfect the first time around.
Big breath there for Gabriel. And he's going to go back in the tank.
And now, I mean, he has access to 7 mana. I don't think he's going to go for it here. So, but now knows that he does have time.
Sure. 19. Go.
Okay. Is Reid
Copy
just
goes
going to
away.
go for a big score? He has plenty of things to discard here, even if it gets countered, right?
Sure.
You have
got-
mana to pay for Spell Pierce.
4 treasures.
So he gets
All
and
the
it
mana in the
resolves
world.
straight away anyway. So he
Okay.
gets 4 treasures and the 2 cards.
Can he find a creativity?
That would be.
He does have the Xenagos still, remember.
Oh, right.
So we got impulse.
And he's got impulse as well.
Okay.
That's going to resolve too.
Oh, finds a Make Disappear to help maybe fight.
Another impulse in there as well. Could just see a bunch more cards.
Yeah, and Nassif, with what he has in hand,
Can he keep up here?
he has to make Reid pay 6 mana.
I mean, Reid has 4 treasure and 8 lands.
Still done?
4 treasure and 8 lands, yes.
That's a lot of mana.
That's 12 mana. Doesn't have a creativity yet, though, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
I'm still wondering if he's just going to run out a Xenagos here.
I'm curious. Oh, he's found
Okay,
Fable.
Could still play it next turn, right?
Mhm.
Then just beat down.
So right back on plan here.
right.
Down to 8 falls Gabriel Nassif.
Go. Make a copy. Okay.
Did he make a copy of a spirit? Okay. Is this the turn?
Starting to feel like it. You know, the treasure tokens having added up there for Duke, I think Nassif is going to look down at Make Disappear and Spell Pierce and really see kind of an expiration date on those.
But now Reid has Make Disappear and Spell Pierce, and Nassif doesn't have a ton of mana.
No,
He's
has
got
far
access
left.
to 7. He has 9 mana,
Mm-hmm.
so he can't go. If he goes creativity for 2, we'll only have 4 mana up, and Reid can counter.
Yes. Getting that 2/2 creature on the battlefield is really important. He has a Mutavault as a backup as well, but he may need to casualty here. Okay, another Fable, and the players seem okay with letting each other do this type of stuff.
This Shark Typhoon, though, putting so much pressure. Now we're getting to the point where, one way or another, Nassif will have to go for it.
Yes.
Now the question is, will Reid this turn just go for the win
Draw 2.
by playing Xenagos?
I mean, I think if he thinks he can protect it with his counters, you know, off you go, right?
You have so much mana, right?
Yeah. He's also, oh, there's the Indomitable Creativity now for Duke as well, so many options.
Yeah, but the problem with the creativity is it only gets you World Spine Worm.
Yeah, and does he have any way to get Xenagos back into the graveyard?
Not
Or,
with what he
excuse
has
me,
in
the
hand.
library?
So
No. He
Fire
didn't?
Prophecy is a good way to do so,
Uh-huh.
along with Valakut Awakening.
Valakut Awakening's the other way. Okay, he
Right.
does not have either of those.
Yeah, we see a Valakut Awakening in play, the land side.
Could this shark go the distance?
Well, if he instead of going for creativity again, if he just goes for Xenagos, right?
Like, if he could see Nassif's hand and he goes for Xenagos, he's good to go, right?
Exactly. But of course,
Yeah,
he could be thinking, well, what if you have removal spells or something along those lines? But remember, again, Reid has to think there's no hard counters game one. This is a creativity deck. So with the 3 cards in Nassif's hand, you have to think pretty likely he probably has a creativity in hand, right?
Yes.
But you have to think also worst case scenario. What happens if he has 3 counter spells in hand?
Oh, and you
Right?
go for it.
And then go, do you have enough mana to pay for all of that?
You're on the clock again.
Big decision point here for Reid.
So Reid with access to 13 mana, you play Xenagos, you go to 8, right?
8 left over, yep.
8 left over means you can pay for 2 Make Disappears,
Yes.
right?
2 fully loaded Make Disappears.
Exactly. Oh,
Is he
he's
going for it?
Xenagos time.
I think he's going to just hard cast Xenagos.
Boom!
Xenagos,
Treasures.
God of Revels. And Gabriel Nassif takes a look at his life total because he recognizes that makes that shark lethal.
8-8. Double.
Oh, and
Oh,
Nassif
man.
just has to pack it in because he cannot make Reid pay enough to counter. And we see a shark token go the distance with a little help.
Who needs the combo? Just
Wow.
cast them.
Wow.
Just cast them.
You know, it's funny because game one, they are quite combo-centric, but they have the ability to go into, post-sideboard games pretty controlling, pretty just blue-red stuff with like a little dash of indomitable creativity there. But he actually gave us a little bit of a show of that in game one.
Yeah, and after sideboard, you're going to see a completely different game.
So what can we expect now?
I don't think you're going to see the combo at all.
Oh, okay.
I think after sideboard, because of the fact that there are hard counters, it's better to be proactive in the threats. So what that means is they have 3 extra Shark Typhoons and Hullbreaker Horrors in the sideboard. So that's what I think it's going to come down to, right? I'm going to go with Shark Typhoons and Hullbreaker Horrors and try to beat you that way. Maybe try to establish, get on the board with cards like Fable of the Mirror Breaker on top of that.
So we see that here, but a really favorable exchange here for Reid, as he had Fiery Impulse and the mana available. So Nassif taps out for Fable. Reid says, end step, kill your token, untap, make my own. Now, can Gabriel Nassif keep up here? Because there is that token sitting there. And he's going to dig. He ditched 2 lands.
He wants to find a removal spell here for this token.
You do not want to let that Goblin Shaman get rolling. Oh, he's fast a turn back.
Oh.
Because the window was open there.
Right.
If he did find it, that you'd think he'd probably just fire it off.
Yeah, and it looks like Reid's still choosing to keep some number of indomitable creativity in
Got one
that.
in his hand?
Maybe 1 or 2, maybe all 4.
Just to keep Nassif honest.
Right. Both players are very aware of kind of what their sideboard plan would be in the dark. But now there could even potentially be that leveling game where it's like, I know you're going to sideboard this way, so maybe I should keep some parts of the combo in.
And he's drawn another copy of Indomitable Creativity here, Paul. So it looks like Reid may be zagging, going against the grain.
Yeah, I mean, if you can resolve creativity, let's say you don't even necessarily go for the Xenagos combo, you can still just creativity out a Hullbreaker Horror. That's incredibly powerful.
Sure.
Combat. Yeah. Treasure.
Just a cheap one.
18. Your turn.
Yeah. And
Wow, but the Shaman does get in and a treasure starts.
That's tough.
It's just, I know it doesn't seem like much at the moment, but it really does start to add up in mana, in permanence on the battlefield, etc.
Right. I mean, what if Reid he doesn't have it now, but what if Reid is able to play a turn 5 Hullbreaker Horror because of this, right? There's nothing really that Nassif can do to kind of answer that.
You can see Nassif's got 3 lands, a copy of his own Indomitable Creativity, a Mystical Dispute, and the Hullbreaker Horror that Reid was hoping to be able to cast, but Reid's hand not bad either. He's got Narset's Reversal, Shark Typhoon, Creativity, and 2 lands. Gotta kind of like where Reid's sitting here.
Yep. Well, I mean, if that Goblin Shaman gets to just continue attacking and creating treasures for you, a lot of because this kind of turns into that control mirror, what it comes down to is kind of the mana advantage, right? So now he's not only putting pressure on, but he's also got the mana advantage here.
Yeah, now he's going to cycle Shark Typhoon on end step, so he's doubling his clock here. Now he's got 4 power out. And he gets a card, of course. There's Chapter 3. And now Reflection of Kiki Jiki's here, and even though this deck isn't optimized perfectly for it, as we saw last time, it can definitely do some work. And Reid's in there. He's going to make another treasure token. Nassif isn't doing much.
No removal here. Look at that hand for Nassif. I mean, he basically has nothing. He has a counterspell as the only way of interacting at the moment.
Yeah, Spikefield Hazard doesn't have a target here of relevance. He, in fact, trades off Reflection of Kiki Jiki for the token, the Goblin Shaman. He just had to stem the bleeding there. But the damage may already be done. 2 treasure tokens, 5 lands here for Duke. No, there's another Fable, though.
Yep.
For Nassif.
That's going to resolve.
And you heard Reid say, okay. So who's got a Goblin Shaman now? And then land go here from Nassif.
So now, I mean, you know Nassif only has access to that 2 mana, right? So Reid does have creativity and Narset's reversal. Is there a way he can just go for the creativity
Yep. Two clues.
with Narset's reversal backup?
Yeah, that's what he's asking himself right now. He's going to flash back Secrets of the Key, where he gets 2 clue tokens. As you can see why this Indomitable Creativity deck would like to have access to a card like that. More sacrifice.
You could just get what, 2 Hullbreaker Horrors if those are the creatures
Sure.
that he kept in the deck.
Anything that's left, he will take 2 of.
Right, because with Narset's reversal, if Nassif just has 1 counterspell, you can just bounce that counterspell back. And also, Nassif can't cast Mystical Dispute as a way to counter the creativity. So if he wants to counter it, it's either going to be multiple spell pierces or a 2-mana counter.
Right.
Creativity targeting 1.
Here it is.
Okay.
Indomitable Creativity targeting the clue token.
Okay.
And it looks like he's just going for 1 here, Paul, so that does lead me to think that we're going to see a Hullbreaker Horror. And there it is on the battlefield. Another huge step towards top 8 here for Reid Duke. Either player wins the match, and they are in top 8. All you need to do is get to 12 wins. Sounds so easy, but it's a 2-day endeavor, and it could end here. Reid is taking major steps towards dispatching of Gabriel Nassif and putting him in question for his top 8 position.
Yeah, this would be, if Reid Duke gets there, this would be top finish number 7.
Pass.
Last time he had a top finish was a tabletop event. It was Mythic Championship 1, the one that Autumn Burchett won. That is the last time Reid Duke has top 8'd one of these high-level events.
Boy, how great would it be for him to start this season fresh with a top 8 performance? He's so close right now, too. Nassif is going to have to do some major work to get himself out from this mess. Now, if you're a Gabriel Nassif fan, don't worry. That 12 still counts. That means that next round he can pick up a win and find himself in.
Yes, so much to fight through. It's so tough. Just if your opponent just has a Hullbreaker Horror in play as a blue mage, you just go, what do I even do?
Yeah.
You can just play anything and just bounce everything back.
It's an extremely frustrating card to play against. And Reid, you know, he's got Negate, Impulse, Narset's Reversal, and Indomitable Creativity in hand. In other words, he can fire off something at instant speed that can not only counter but also bounce, or he can even just use Impulse as a counter spell if Nassif's mana gets low. This is
tough.
This is really tough. I feel like nothing's gone right for Nassif this game. He has never been ahead.
Yeah.
You know, it started off actually a long time ago, right? Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and it was Fiery Impulse to kill it, play my own, and it felt like Reid has never looked back.
Yeah, absolutely. And
We see
look
an
at this
attack here.
just to get a treasure into play, because now this allows Nassif to cast his own Hullbreaker Horror with Mystical Dispute backup.
I see that.
Of course, a Hullbreaker Horror can't be countered.
Right.
But what could happen is he finds a scenario where he can run out the Hullbreaker Horror, and then if Reid chooses to try to cast a blue spell to just bounce the Hullbreaker Horror with the one that he has in play, Nassif can then just cast Dispute to perhaps bounce the Hullbreaker Horror on Reid's side, right? Because it's all about just...
Wow, did Reid just copy the Hullbreaker Horror as well?
He did.
Because you know what's better than one? It's 2 of them.
Right.
So...
This is potentially a lethal attack
Yeah,
here,
I just
right?
don't see how Nassif can get a Hullbreaker Horror on the battlefield. Like, it just gets returned.
And now Reid can copy it again if he wants.
Sure. And that's going to
yep.
do it. Reid Duke secures yet another top 8, number 7 for top finishes there for Reid Duke. Congratulations to him and welcome back to Paper Magic. We've got Reid Duke in the feature match area making top 8. It feels like we're right back again.
Yep, everything feels nice. Now, probably a little bit bittersweet here because Reid Duke did defeat a teammate. They were playing the exact same
very good
card.
friend.
Very, very good friend. So, but you know, Nassif's not out of it as well. 11 wins, 12 still gets you in. So plenty of magic here. But for Reid, it's another top 8.
Incredible stuff from Reid. Welcome back to the Pro Tour. All right, let's take a short break, but when we come back, we've got more Pioneer coverage down the stretch here from Philadelphia. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to coverage here of Pro Tour Phyrexia. Marshall Steckles with Paul Chye. Take a look at the MagicCon happening right here in the very same building as the Pro Tour. As you can see, all types of awesome attractions for every Magic player. Whatever it is that you're into, you're going to find it here. And if you happen to be into high-level competitive play, welcome. This is where we do that at the Pro Tour. So and we've got another top 8 on the line here, another top 8 seat on the line here for our feature match players. Once again, just like the last round or the last match, it's the same thing. Márcio Carvalho versus Takumi Matsuura, and we're going to actually end up joining this one in game number 2. You can see Takumi's on mono white, and for Márcio, looking for top finish number 11. This would be Takumi's first top finish. It's black-red sacrifice. Now, as we come into game number 2, Takumi has picked up number 1 and is looking to finish off the very tough Márcio Carvalho. He just is always at the top of the stand. He's knocking at the door.
Yeah, and he's got to be loving the return to tabletop, because Márcio, known as one of the best limited players on the planet, and no surprise to kind of see him now at the top of these standings. We're going to see this a lot more coming from him now, because when you go into an event, you're kind of locking him for at least a 4-2 in the kind of that limited section of the event. Now, he's playing Rakdos Sacrifice, which is the deck that you bring to this event if you expect a lot of creature-based strategies. Rakdos Sacrifice is fantastic against these creature decks. Now, he is down a game, but if you were to ask Márcio, he goes, hey, what do you want to play against every single round? Mono white humans is likely one of the decks he wants to play against.
Well, he lost game 1, but can he pick up the next 2 games? Looks like he's got a decent start here with Blood Tithe Harvester hitting the battlefield. Over for Takumi, he's got the Hopeful Initiate, which, by the way, is going to attack straight away off of a counter from the Aspirant there. So a 2-3 attacking into a 3-2, little tradesy.
Yeah, depends on what else Márcio is working with. He could opt to go for the trade here, and then if he has a removal spell, can get that Aspirant off the battlefield. But of course, the Aspirant is the bigger threat, right? Because it's just every single turn you're getting extra value with the +1/+1 counters. You want to get this off the battlefield as quickly as possible.
Yeah, this is a very heads-up attack here from Takumi, because if Márcio doesn't have an answer for the aspirant. He had one on the battlefield, and it just went away. So he does make the trade. Let's see if Márcio can take care of this aspirant, though. As you mentioned, it gets really annoying, and it just sits on the battlefield, putting these +1/+1 counters, and you can fall behind it pretty easily.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Mayhem Devil.
One of the best cards in the format. This is what a lot of these decks are built around. Oh, but it is not immune to ossification. And it is gone. And by the way, no activation whatsoever.
Yeah.
And there's our boy.
Great addition for these mono-white humans decks, just to have a nice, clean answer to any of these threatening creatures.
Skrelv also making a good appearance here. You see it on the battlefield. And it's been also a nice addition. This is Skrelv is a variant on a type of magic card that's been around for a while. Mother of Runes was kind of the one that you think of for the old school.
The one. And this one's been modified, not as powerful, but still good enough to play in these decks. And the thing is, I mean, that was a question coming in. Should you still play this card? It's not a human.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't benefit from all the synergies from the mono-white humans deck, but just Takumi and many other players just recognizing how powerful this card is, you still should play some copies of this.
Márcio taking another quick read of ossification.
And
it's not good news, though. When you're black-red and your opponent... that is one of the few cards printed ever in black or red that can actually kill
Sack the blood? Kill Skrelv?
Oh, my goodness sakes.
That was a big turnaround.
Devastating turnaround here. Now, he is going to need to put together a little bit more sack because the aspirant is getting big. It's going to be a 3/3 by the time Márcio has a crack at it, and that can be difficult to put together.
Yeah, and oftentimes when you look at a card like Feed the Swarm, you go, well, do you want to bring this in against an aggressive deck? Because you do take damage, right, from the removal effect, but recognizing also that it's just so important to keep the Mayhem Devil on the battlefield. And I believe that's an Edeline here.
It is an Edeline, but my goodness, Paul, they got us on hard mode here. I mean, look at Márcio. He's got the, Dungeons and Dragons Hive. He's got a Russian land. That's a Russian, what's it called? Mayhem Devil.
We got this.
He's got a Japanese Witness down there. Here's another Russian card. But we know these ones. That's a Cauldron Familiar. So the only piece of the puzzle missing here, a little oven would be nice.
Oven would be nice, but also just, I mean, you have the Mayhem Devil, and it's nice if you can pick off the little creatures, but, I mean, Takumi's got a 3/3 and a 2/4 in play right now.
Yeah, these things are huge. I guess you could use it to pick off the tokens that are created from Edeline, but it's going to need something to repeatedly sacrifice, I think.
Yeah, or perhaps he just has access to some kind of a removal spell here, right? Just has 2 mana up and passed. You have to think that there is a decent shot that Márcio has something, maybe an Abrade, a Fatal Push.
Oh, this is interesting. There's a Mutavault.
Right, and I'm wondering if Márcio has an effect before combat.
Right,
right, because you really want to potentially get that aspirant off the battlefield.
Maybe a Deadly Dispute.
Yeah, Deadly Dispute on the Cauldron Familiar, and then Sack would allow you to kill Mutavault.
There it is, Deadly Dispute.
All right, but where does the damage go? So this is before combat, I believe.
That is correct.
Which means Takumi could technically...
I think it's before attackers. No, you're right.
No, because the counter.
Trigger, yeah.
Right.
Unless he targeted it.
Right, unless he targeted it with the Luminarch Aspirant.
That's right. If Márcio waited for that...
Oh, yep, nope, everything is dying. Everything is dying.
Wow. So we were wondering if he had a spell or something to do. It turns out he had multiples, or at least found multiples.
So just taking 2 damage here. Oh, 3 damage by activating the Mutavault.
That's right.
Okay, so that was a big turn for Márcio, right? Got the Aspirant off the battlefield, killed a land.
That was huge.
Drew some cards, so...
And a recruitment officer doesn't look long for this world. Oh, boy. Double trouble now. 2 Mayhem Devils. Now, this is what he needed to make it so that Takumi couldn't get anything on the battlefield for the rest of the game, but we're not quite there yet. And there's another Luminarch Aspirant hitting the battlefield as well.
So now you can put a counter on the recruitment officer and still swing here.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then maybe the Mutavault would be 5 power.
Right. So
there is still a double block
so
on Adeline.
you can double block the Adeline, or put a creature in front of the token, and just Márcio going, okay, I am sick and tired of this Adeline. If I can find a way to sacrifice a creature, I can get this Luminarch Aspirant off the battlefield.
This is a huge turn now for Márcio. If he can get a sacrifice outlet or something going,
Okay,
that counts.
Right, you can sack a blood to kill the Luminarch Aspirant, and have a 3/2 on the battlefield to trade.
Yes. That worked out very nicely there for Márcio. I like how he's planned this out. So a relatively stable board now with the biggest threat from Takumi off the board, and then the second biggest threat also gone.
Yeah, and now this recruitment officer, I mean, if you attack, Márcio's going to happily put
the harvester
in front.
Yeah, just snap it off. There is no good attack currently, but that could change. And guess what? There's always another Adeline waiting in the wings when they trade it off.
Right, so this isn't going to affect combat too much this turn. Well, I guess they could maybe get in for an extra point, but...
Oh, well, he did actually trade off the recruitment officer. I'm a little surprised to see that, but off it goes.
So
now we're back to business, though, for Márcio. He needs to find another answer for a 4 toughness threat. Now, he has removal spells that can do it.
Right.
But he doesn't really... It's hard to imagine him generating 4 pings from 1 Mayhem Devil in a turn.
Yeah, many of the effects in this deck deal 3 that you have Abrades out of the sideboard. You have Fatal Push. Nothing to sacrifice here, though.
Okay, but
all the
once
Mayhem
again,
Devils.
He has double Devil. He had that for a moment before, but traded one of them for the first Adeline. Now there's another Adeline on the battlefield.
Oh.
Is that another ossification?
That is an ossification.
Oh, that's big time there.
So just attack with everything. And now Adeline is attacking here for 3, but now Takumi can also activate Mutavault to attack for 4 and 5. This is going to put Márcio down to 2 life.
Man, Takumi Matsuura is on the verge of a top 8 here, coming in from the top ropes. I mean, this is an incredible performance for him. He qualified via regional championship, Paul.
So Márcio can activate a creature land here and block, but if Takumi attacks with everything, that's lethal, right? That's 4 attackers with the Adeline. Oh, and that's a flipped Reidane, it looks like.
Good call, Paul.
I believe.
That is, in fact, a flipped Reidane.
So now this shuts off the ping effect.
But it should be on the other side.
Right. It should start as Reidane.
Right.
But But it looks like perhaps it was flipped in the previous game, and
they went
didn't flip
such
it back.
hard mode with the cards they chose that
now
I don't think
it's the flip version.
Noticed yet.
He's like, I pre-flipped it for you because I knew I was going to play it only as this on this mode, right?
There you go. There's Den of the Bugbear getting activated, and what that means is that Márcio is down to precious 1 life. He's still clinging.
Removal? Is that even enough?
It's
I mean,
not.
even
There's
if you
still
kill
a
the Adeline,
Mutavault.
you can activate the Mutavault.
And now Márcio says, wait, what is this thing?
It's prevent, and if the creature is target,
pay 1 more.
Yeah, it's actually kind of annoying, I think, for Márcio, because it's just better as a creature for Takumi.
So they're trying to figure out what Valkmira Protector's Shield does. And it's anytime something would deal 1 damage to a permanent or to something that you control, prevent 1 of that damage, and then anything that gets targeted, you need to pay 1 more.
it's something shield.
They're getting Oracle text on that right now.
300.
How to spell the name of this card?
That one is Kalheim, right?
All right, so they're just...
I said welcome back to Paper Magic a little while ago, and I'll say it again.
Yeah. What does this card do again?
It counts,
exactly.
you know? Like
I mean, this is
Oracle
huge, right?
thing.
This is a really, really big turn here for Márcio.
Physical. No, that's the other one. God or something. Go to the tree, go to battle now.
Do you know how to spell this card game?
It's pretty
go to
funny
Fried.
because Reid has kind of, an interesting spelling,
Raiden.
right?
Yeah.
And so even if you remember, it's like, well, how do you spell it? And
Raiden.
what they're trying to do is the judge is trying to provide oracle text
Yeah.
so that Márcio knows exactly what that card does.
Not great for Márcio.
Right. There's not a lot of good news on either side here.
Can I ask a question? Or?
Sure.
Yes. Yep.
And it looks like Márcio is going to step away from the table to ask the judge a question. So sometimes you need to ask the judge a rules question, but it's not great to have your opponent hear that question.
Right, because it could, it could change the strategy of what he's trying to do here.
It's totally fine when you need to do so to step away and clarify. One thing that the judges are here to do besides enforce the rules are to assist players, right, in this type of clarification.
Yeah.
You always want to know exactly what's going on, and that's what the judges are for.
Yeah. But just analyzing the board state, we don't exactly know what Márcio has in hand. But this is a really
Better be
tough
good.
spot, right? If you don't have a way to kill the Edeline, you're just dead.
You're just dead.
And even if you do have a way to kill the Edeline, if Takumi activates Mutavault, I mean, Márcio needs to find a removal spell for Edeline, pay the 1, and then also find something else for one of the tokens.
Don't like the chances. There was a land, and he's going to pass the turn back. The question is, does Matsuura go for it? And I think he will.
Oh, yeah.
We have seen maximum aggression from him every time. You don't come to the Pro Tour with mono white to not attack.
Especially with the tax, right? The fact that you have to pay 1 extra mana here to use a removal spell.
There's Mutavault getting
Okay.
activated. This could be top 8 for Takumi. Does Márcio
Combat?
have what he needs to get out of this mess?
If he has something, he needs to cast it now. You don't want the 1/1 token.
Say, so he has Fatal Push, I assume, because he's activating Ramanop Ruins.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Right, then is to the face too? No, right?
Yes. 1 damage.
1 damage only, right?
Yeah.
This. I'm sacking this to give him 1 damage. Okay.
1 damage.
Right.
I'm thinking if the trigger of Raiden, I have to pay 1 to his, to his face or not. If it's only for creatures or him too.
Right, just wondering if you have to pay 1 more when you're targeting your opponent with the Ramunap Ruins ability.
Exactly. And now we see the Fatal Push.
Yep.
And it triggers, and that's going to be it. Takumi is in to the top 8. That's a big congratulations there. That is his first top finish.
Yeah, and I mean, we're kind of seeing a little bit of the old and the new. Shota Yasuoka locking a slot into the top 8, but now another Japanese player making his way into the top 8, and Mono White Human just able to beat through a really tough matchup in Rakdos Sacrifice and a really tough opponent.
Absolutely, and as we mentioned before, with both of those players with 11 wins, Márcio could still win next round and find himself in the top 8. I mean, this thing is getting stacked very quickly. Reid, Shota, Takumi, and then a few great players knocking at the door. We're not done yet, though. Take a look here. We're going to get into game number 3 between Benton Madsen and Chye Heng, and we're going to see Mono White once again, this time versus... We'll be professional. We'll call it Selesnya Auras this time.
Boggles?
The Boggy Boys.
Boggles?
Well, that didn't last very long.
I gave you like 2 seconds.
Yeah. And of course, I just followed your lead.
Right, Boggles. So, yeah, interesting here. The question is, how much disruption or interaction can Chye have for this matchup here to interact with the auras? Because if Benton can just suit up one of these creatures with lifelink and a bunch of other things, especially with that Skrelv to protect it,
He can just run away.
he can just outrace you very easily.
It's also worth noting here, take a look at the records for our players. 10-3-1 versus 11-3. You need to get to that 12-win threshold to lock up top 8 as a guarantee. And right now, only one of our players can do that this round, and that's Benton Madsen. He had the best record coming in from overnight. He seemed a little bit bewildered by that fact, but he has kept the wheels on the train and managed a 3-3 today. And with a win here or next round, he can still clear that top 8 hurdle. And I'll tell you, Paul, you know, this is the first PT of the season. That's when you want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with his start, being the 8-0 player in day 1, it's going to have fantastic tie breaks. So if anybody squeaks in with 11 wins, he's got a really great shot.
That's right. Light pause. Emperor's Voice hits the battlefield now. for Benton, and he is really starting to gear up for that battle cruiser that this deck can make. But he's gonna be under some pressure here. We see the bodyguard and the aspirant now for Chye, and let's start seeing some auras flowing now.
It's gonna be time for some fireworks here with Skrelv backup. So Chye is gonna need multiple removal spells to deal with this light pause.
And this light pause,
I'm just assuming
massive.
Benton has a bunch of auras.
Of course he
You know
does.
what I mean?
That's how this works.
I mean, anytime I try to play a deck like this, I just draw all creatures and lands or all my auras and no creatures. So curious to see how somebody who actually knows how to play the deck.
I am curious to see what direction he goes here. We get a little bit of a look at his hand for the first time.
There's a Destroy Evil.
I see.
And an Iganjo as interaction sources.
There's a Griff's Boon and a Portable Hole for Benton.
Oh, for Benton. I was like, Griff's Portable Hole would be a great card for Chye.
Yeah. And there is, of course, a forest there as well. You can see Benton really taking his time to make sure that he kind of understands what the lay of the land looks like after the actions that he's thinking about taking and how he feels about that.
Yeah.
He is under a significant amount of pressure already, but this deck can easily go over the top of what Chye's putting out.
Oh.
Warbriar Blessing? Okay.
Oh. Yeah. So not only are you going to be able to fetch an aura here and grow the light pulse, you're also going to be able to kill this Luminarch Aspirant.
Yeah, what do you want to punch?
Jeez.
First, and then the Warbriar's trigger resolve. I have to declare the target for the Warbriar's Blessing before doing anything else. The target is going to be Luminarch Aspirant. Then I'm going to resolve the search for light pause.
You can see, you can tell that Benton has some experience playing in paper.
You think so?
Clear, yeah, about each. It actually kind of reminds me of Reid, right? You know, very clear about the about exactly when triggers are going on, how they're resolving, and how he wants to go about it.
Yeah.
So what he said was, I have to choose my target for Warbriar Blessing, you know, when it goes on. But he's also got a trigger from Light Pause. So he says, I'm going to target the Luminarch Aspirant, and then I'm going to resolve my other trigger.
And then the fight effect
and
then resolve after the aura.
That's right.
So let's say, for example, you have a way to give Light Pause lifelink, right?
There's all that glitters. Okay, and then he says, now I will resolve the fight portion of the proceedings.
Right.
But just this is gross.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, this is an attack for 4.
Huge.
More than 4.
What did he do there? Oh, there we go. He's got the Griff's Boon as well.
So now we're looking at an attack for 6 and then getting something else here. Oh my goodness. With the Skrelv backup.
With that Skrelv backup, and you're facing a mono-white opponent.
What can you even
do? I don't think there's anything that he can do, right?
I mean, double Portable Hole, right?
Portable Hole.
Portable Hole off the top would do it, right? So you go Portable Hole, target the Skrelv, in response, destroy evil, the Light Pause, right? And I imagine there's Portable Hole in the sideboard here. Yeah, so Chye does have Portable Hole in sideboard, so if he goes land, Portable Hole, into destroy evil.
He just got an ethereal armor with that last trigger.
It can't be lethal, right?
That's like another all that glitters. It's a 2-turn clock.
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4.
What is he down to? 4?
I have 15 plays ace.
8. Passes the turn back.
Oh, man.
It's lethal.
Turn 3.
That's incredible.
Turn 3.
And he has the Skrelv backup.
Right. This is the draw you want. You're like, game 3, playing for top 8 of the Pro Tour. 1-drop, 2-drop, basically got you dead on turn 3.
I love the attack here from the Dauntless Bodyguard. Down to 12 goes Benton. Is there anything that can be done?
Destroy evil and hope he doesn't use Skrelv?
Yeah, that's probably part of the equation.
Protection from white? Or hexproof from white?
Hexproof from white down to 10, and that's going to do it. Benton Madsen has hung on from the top record overnight and converted it into his first Pro Tour top 8. Congratulations, Benton. What a run by him. Just came out of nowhere.
Living the dream, right?
No
Coming in, kind of happy to be here. If I win a match or 2, this is going to be a great experience. But guess what? You've got some more Magic to play, Benton.
Incredible. You know, Cedric asked him earlier in an interview, like, how do you think your next round's going to go? He's like, I think I'm going to lose.
Probably
You
lose.
know, it's
Yeah.
like, I'm probably not going to make it. I don't know. This isn't. He didn't think that he was going to get this far into the tournament, but now he gets to actually, he's done for the day. Does he have
Yeah.
to play the last round, go get a bite, and then come back early in the morning to play top 8. So yet another seat filled out here, and we've got one more round to bring you to fill out the rest of them. To set up all of that right after this break, it's the news desk with Maria.